Hello everyone, this is Bianca from Dancesport Live. We're currently at the Blackpool Dance Festival. Next to me, I have Espen Salberg, a former amateur and Latin champion, currently one of the most sought after coaches in the industry of dance sport. Also, he's a very famous fashion designer, very talented. Hello, Espen.
Hello, thank you for the compliments.
I think the first question that everyone asks, and I think it's a natural question, what was your first contact with the world of dance?
Well, I believe I was 9 years old, and in those days, in Norway, in Oslo, if there was ever a Eurovision transmitted thing on television, everybody was glued to it.
Exactly.
And it was from simultaneously London and Copenhagen, an international team match.
Okay.
And as entertainment that day, there was a formation team from England of children.
Okay.
So I just remember I said to my mum, I had never seen this before, I said, where can you learn that, you know? And she said, oh, there are dancing schools. That was it. And I guess maybe a year later, I was walking with my parents to go and catch a train. And we had to do a shortcut. So we went a back street, and I suddenly saw dance school. And I said, is this the place you talk about? She said, yes. Can I start? And that's how it started. Now, I didn't know what Dancesport was, but I had only been in the class for 3 weeks where the teacher said, would you like to come and do twice a week for those who probably start doing competitions? And that's how the whole thing started.
It sounds familiar with my story.
Yes.
I started at 9 as well.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Personally, I'm very interested to find out what do you value more at a couple. Like when you see a couple dancing, what is the first thing you want to notice, or?
Well, what I would like to notice, exactly. Or what I do notice.
Both.
Yeah. You know, sometimes the first thing you notice might not be nice things, but what I enjoy to notice is couples that understand the value of partnering and dancing together. So you see body weights and dance actions being in tuned and like a question-answer situation. That's in the dance style that I like. Other than that, I love charisma. You know, I love beauty. Yes. And most of all, I get attracted to the ladies.
Yes.
And I love to see beautiful legs and feet. If that she can be as beautiful as she wants, if she hasn't got beautiful legs and feet, no way.
No.
Yes.
And what about the men?
Well, I enjoy commanding men, you know, that actually are in charge of the situation. Of course, if somebody is, again, charismatic and they have this thing that you cannot explain with dancers and they come in on the floor and it's just sheer pleasure and they fill the room. Yeah, I love that.
Okay. How does one personality influences their style of dancing? What I mean by this question is, for example, is your personality getting enhanced during a performance, or is it changing?
You mean now the couple?
Like a person.
Like a person. Oh,
yeah.
yes, as a dancer. Listen, difficult question, because some dancers are born with a gift. And I personally believe that you have to develop the dancer for who they are and not set them in a cliche of a current trend, and that's how you're going to feel, express, and be. And I must say that if there's anything that I feel that I have achieved over all my years of teaching, I've had situations where I was coaching, if you took the final, 4 of the 6 couples, and I dare say that none of them looked the same.
Yes.
Yes. I've been also through the period of dancing that I have, or coaching and teaching, been so lucky to produce 17 world champions, and none of them were the same. And this is my thing. You have to, as a teacher and coach, pull out and create give them a business card, basically. This is who I am.
Like a trademark.
Trademark, absolutely.
And do you think this trademark is created because you can see their personality, you can read them very well?
I can only answer from my own experience that, and I don't know what it is, I just feel there is something. We have to do more of this, and we don't go that way at all, because basically it wouldn't fit into the vibes I get for creating the image of this couple. So it can be somebody's just inner expression that comes out because of the feel that the choreography and the togetherness gives them, or it can be stylized. Not everybody has that inner expression, so then you go for beauty in visuality more. Yes, not always, but it's not a given answer to it, basically.
Exactly.
Yes.
I know. What about your competitive story? You stopped dancing at one point.
Yes.
And then you decided to start the Latin fantasy show.
Yes. Yes.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I mean, I had my career with my partner and then wife. Now we are no longer together, and it was having won the British twice and the everything, the World Championship. It's trying to stay on the top is a lot of pressure. And we came from a non-dancing country. Norway had never even heard about anybody putting dance shoes on, I traveled the world, so you come from Norway? Isn't that where ice bears walk the streets? I said, no, ignorance is bliss, right? So in a way, we paved the way for other Norwegian dancers at the time. Then, when we retired, it was just that it felt right to do that.
It was a decision.
Then a very, very good friend, which was Mr. Bobby Short, which is Robin Short's father. When they ran the international championships in the Royal Albert Hall, they always had something called the Duel of the Giants just before midnight.
Yes.
And they wanted to change the concept a little bit. Now, Alan and Hazel Fletcher and my wife Kirsten and myself were very good friends. Rivals, but very good friends. So Bobby Short one day said, why don't you do something together, you two? He said cabaret, not competition against one another. Because we had been asked if we would rival each other, and we said no. And that's how the whole thing was born. And that something intended for one event ran for 5 years, and we traveled the whole world doing this show.
It was, for me, I feel like it was a stepping stone for others to create that sort of...
It had never been done before. It inspired other people to try it, yes. And it was also a tremendous learning experience, because of trying to not only harmonize dance sport or dancing in that sense from a competitive point of view, but more into a show point of view, therefore more attentive with the music, matching the music with the movement, etc., and creating show aspects. Yes.
Okay. How was the transition from the competitive and the performance dancing life to fashion?
Okay, so here I had always been interested in design and fashion. I always designed our dance costumes. I designed for other people. I was always fascinated by watching the big designers do their shows, etc., etc. Now, back in 1993, my life took quite an important change, and my wife and I separated. And I felt that it was time for me to try and do something more for myself. So I moved to Italy, didn't speak Italian, enrolled in a fashion academy, which was not so good, but it was enough. And that's how the whole thing started. And I first obviously doing dance costumes. That doesn't satisfy you because there is so many limitations, because it has to fit and be comfortable, stretch there, etc., etc. And so the constructions are very often the same base. And I just felt myself throwing the Swarovskis in different places, basically as decorations, right? So, but when I moved there, I got the chance to open an atelier together with another friend, and that then made it all evolve into more of evening wear and things like that. Then I had a health issue back in 2004 maybe, and well, end of the story was that I decided to move to Bali because I had been there for a wedding of my friend, and moving there, I realized that they have a tremendous garment industry, and
yes,
it was
they do.
possible.
Very colorful.
Yes, but it was possible to afford to get things done that I couldn't do in Italy, you know? So I had my very first fashion collection fashion show in Hong Kong Fashion Week in 2009, and that's how the whole thing started. Yeah.
Do you think the knowledge you acquired from creating dance costumes helped you in creating these dresses that we...
Absolutely, and I work 90% in stretch fabrics.
Yes.
So I call this stretch couture.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And just by knowing from the experience of our dance dresses, where the normal dress maker would say, oh, it's impossible to do.
Exactly.
But it is possible to do. That's what we learned from. So, yes, absolutely.
Stretch couture.
Stretch couture, yes.
How much do you think a regular fashion, like trends, influences the dresses that we make during competitions?
Well, there's a certain influence, I think, but more probably on the details of design, yes, and accessorizing and things like this. But we never see, for example, changing length in skirt just because the fashion says it. We also don't see sneakers. on the floor,
That wouldn't
obviously,
be
you know.
okay.
So, and we don't see the sort of athletic influence with the stripes and such things. But I do find that probably the ballroom ladies are the ones who get most influence from evening dresses, current evening dresses, in some of their design. You know, the
For
ones
example,
that it shouldn't just look like a dance costume, but it should also have a certain elegance of style when it comes to elegance and femininity, you know? And another reason why it doesn't get too influenced is the fact that you have this constant I need volume approach, you know, so I can't go on the floor without two floats on each arm, and, you know, and things like this. So and I just find it, I'm amazed sometimes why some ballroom dancers don't just think more about movement and have more length of line in chiffon, and that flows, and always sort of just that it has to stand lower down and be slim on the hips.
okay.
Yeah, that's mine. In the Latin American, well, you know, MTV, nudity, it's probably an inspiration.
It's true.
Yes.
Moving a bit forward, I'm curious about your opinion. How do you think the world of ballroom and Latin will change? What would you like ballroom and Latin to keep, and what would you like it to live it in the past?
You know, not an easy question to answer, because whether the future or even the current trend is requiring people to do everything more in a faster way or a flashy way, you know, that it has to be now or never, I think is a very short-lived way of thinking.
Experience.
Yes, very short-lived. We also have the sort of contrasts between WDSF and WDC, and that speaks for itself, so I don't need to go much more into that, but I still like things to dance. Yes, and not just to be a showcase where two people dance together. You hardly look at one another because you only look at the audience and things like this, an extra point for fast footwork and all of this. I do hope that the reality of maintaining character of the different dances packaged in a contemporary way, that is basically my desire, my wish. Yeah.
Great. And for me, one last question. I'm very curious because every time I think about you, I imagine you with the scarf. First question, why don't you wear a scarf today?
I forgot.
And my question was, how did you develop this trademark of yours, and why? And what was the decision? I'm going to wear a scarf from now on.
Well, I have always, if I don't wear a scarf, I always wear a jumper tied around my neck.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, and that came because of I teach so much in Asia and air conditioning.
Okay. So
Then I saw photos taken and I said, I like
I look
this.
dashing.
Yeah. Well, not so much dashing, it also hides an ever-growing stomach a little bit. No, but I do like scarves.
Yes.
I do, and I never thought that it would be something that people associated with me. But I have been to events where the dancers had some fun and they wanted to copy me.
Exactly.
And they always came out with a scarf and glasses and they did this. So maybe that's the reason, but there was no fashion statement behind it.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Looking forward to see you next time.
Yes, indeed.
And I hope you have an amazing time here at Blackpool Dance Festival. And I wish you good luck with the new collection.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye bye, everyone.